Checking in with Quincy City Council President, Councilor at Large Noel DeBona for an update on the most recent City Council meeting. Hey, Noel, how are you?
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Doing okay. We're in March now, so we're getting there slowly but surely.
Guess what? You know, we got some daylight savings pushing some daylight in next week. And then we also, this upcoming weekend, and then we have the following week, the first day of spring. How about that, Joe?
That's something to look forward to for sure. Doesn't mean it won't snow anymore, but it's something to look forward to.
True. But if it snows, it'll melt right away because, obviously the tilt of the axis of the earth, and then on top of that, you got the sunlight, out there more towards the day. So it is going to get warmer. Hopefully we get back walking getting the steps in every day.
Yeah, we look forward to talking to you while you're having your morning constitutional snow. Makes us all feel a little more healthy.
Definitely.
How'd the meeting go last night?
It was a light agenda again, but we obviously had an ordinance meeting, which Councilor and Chairperson of the ordinance, McCarthy, we did the approval of the locations for the solar energy implementation on public properties. Some 9-10 years ago, I was on the school committee, and we originally had almost all the schools put on the roofs. We had the solar energy, which was fantastic. As time gone along, we obviously have gotten to a stage where we're trying to do all the schools. I had asked Shelley Dean, who was in charge of this particular item, and I says, what schools out there that we don't have? She goes, just the ones that we can't get onto the roofs to redo the roofs. Obviously, there's a little bit more life on those roofs, and when you put these solar panels up on these roofs, you want to do it right after you redo the roof, put the new shingles on. And some of the, like Point Webster right now has a little bit more longevity of life for the roofs. So that particular school is not in this order. But this completes almost all the schools that we have in Quincy Public Schools throughout the city. It's also included the animal shelter. It's not a full scale situation where we're going to move forward with every location, but it gives authorization to allow it to have the solar energy implementation at these locations. The particular item at the animal shelter, because this cannot be up on the roofs, because there's going to be like landscape up on those roofs, we're looking to use an extra solar panel on the ground. This is not a done deal. It's just something they're going to look at and see if they can do it. Shelley Dean did a great job with finding an area by the animal shelter that has no implementation of taking out trees or cutting down trees. The Quincy Tree Alliance had raised some concern about taking down trees to put these solar panels in on the ground. Some folks are not all in favor of ground, but in particular, we're going to look into it. It's not a done situation, but we're going to look forward to taking an assessment of the grounds over there at the animal shelter and see if we can do it. Obviously, as we move into new items, new buildings, new structures throughout the city, we want to continue to go into a net zero situation where it's all electric. If we can implement it in those particular areas, we're trying to move into the more of the green energy, and doing it in that aspect of it. So it's a proactive approach, and we'll see how we get to when we get to it.
Okay, so the solar panels would provide electricity for those particular buildings that they're on?
Those particular buildings that they would be on. And if you can't do it on the top of the roofs of the structure, we're looking to find areas that don't knock a lot of trees down and cut trees down and do them on the ground. Okay. And it looks pretty good. She found a great area on the animal shelter that doesn't have, it's basically just ground. It's not a whole bunch of trees that you're going to eliminate. So she did find an area. We'll look into it when we get to the time of putting the possible assessment of the land. We'll figure out whether we can do it there or not.
And is the funding for these systems already all approved, Noel, or does that still have to happen?
That looks like it has to go into allowing this into each structure. It didn't go through the finance, so that is a very good question. It's an ordinance to allow the next step of allowing the implementations. I believe that if the funding has to come in, it may come in through another order.
Okay. All right. So just inching along in that process then.
Yes.
Okay. And it looks like the city's political calendar was on the agenda too.
Yes, and that is an interesting area, and the reason being is obviously we know every 10 years we have this implementation of the new consensus, and this particular redistricting throughout the city of Quincy, which you have to understand is by population. Each ward, each precinct has to be set up with it has a proper amount of population. Obviously, the city's grown over the last 10 years. We probably were at about 92,000. Now we're at 101,000 folks, probably building up even more. It's grown to almost 9,000 folks. So we have to redistrict everything. And in that process, some of the lines moved around in the city, some of the polling places, but it relates to, we also have no school on election day now. So Madam Clerk, City Clerk, Nicole Crispo has moved a lot of our polling places into the schools, which I think is a great idea because the kids will not be in the schools. So it's a great way knocking down the funding for these locations. We've used a lot of churches over the years and different senior housing buildings, and it's just a little bit more easier to get in and out of these schools on election day. To be honest with you, I looked at the list and it's going to change. We have 31 precincts because 51A is an extra one. Each ward has 5 precincts. This is going to change 15 out of the 31 precincts throughout the city, which means half of the city will possibly be going to a different polling place when they vote. Now, if you have problems voting a particular place, it's going to be in close proximity of the location that it previously was at. But Madam Clerk had a great thing. She said you can do early voting, or you can vote in person up at City Hall and these other locations that we have leading up to the election. So we have a variety of different avenues, but I did say to her that, some people are so, it's like the first reaction is to go to the polling place that they were at for the last 10 years, 20 years. They're going to have to understand that some of the polling places are going to be at different places. So what I did last night is I made sure that I talked about each polling place and where they're going to be located. And if we can get the word out now that these polling places will be changed. I know she's going to do a big mailing in August, and maybe the Patriot Ledger and the Quincy Sun and QATV can help out with getting the word out there that your new location, you can have half of the city will have a new location, and it'll be in close proximity to the previous location. So, for instance, St. Thomas Aquinas Hall in House Neck is now going to be moved to Atherton Howe Elementary School, which is right in the vicinity of that area. Lincoln, some of the locations like Lincoln Hancock might be going to Southwest Middle School. That'll be a new location that we're going to use. And throughout the city, there's a lot of different alterations, like the Thomas Crane Public Library is now going to be moved to Quincy High School. So you're just going to have to understand when the lists come out and the mailing will help. But as you know, if it's over the summer in August, some people, looking at their mail, they might be on vacation. So if we can get the word out now from QATV and Quincy Sun and Patriot Ledger that these locations will change, and to be on the lookout for where those new locations will be.
Oh, we'll certainly help out here. I'll get in touch with the city clerk, and I'm sure she'll provide me with all the information so we can put it up for folks to see. But the message is, when it comes time to vote, just really figure out where you vote before you head out.
Yes, it's getting through the kinks in the first election. There'll be a first time where you have all these new polling places, but once you get used to it, and if you get redistricted into a different precinct or a particular ward, or even you might move. You'll understand in the next election. Also, the second thing that was on there is the adoption of the 2023 political calendar. And on that, to make it a word, just to let folks know out there, is there will not be a September preliminary election. It's actually August 29th. So just to get it out there and let folks know, has it ever been in August? I don't think so, but I have seen it on September 1st. A few years ago, they had it on September 1st. It was before Labor Day. You always, have to tether around Labor Day and also the Jewish holidays. So we voted on it last night. It was put in by Madam Clerk that August 29th, when and if there is a preliminary election, it'll be in the month of August. So that's another thing that, if there is a preliminary election, obviously in each ward, if there's more than three people or more in particular wards, or if there's 7 or more in the at-large or school committee race, you'll have a preliminary election.
Yeah, so another thing to watch out for sure, and we'll get the word out for you for that as well, starting right now and moving.
I appreciate it, Joe. I really do. And I made it a note. We had such a light agenda that I talked about these items. I think they're very important for the city. If there's one thing that you don't want to do, you don't want to take the ability for people to vote. You don't want voter suppression. And you know, a lot of people say in these local elections, why is it so low of a turnout? And you want to make it as flexible and more convenient for folks to get out. And if the one thing that is, in a lot of folks just want to do in-person voting, if you don't want to take away the ability of having a place that's actually close proximity to their house and where they live in that particular precinct / ward. So we want to make it as easy as possible for especially the people that want to vote in person, the traditional way of voting.
Yeah, will there be mail-in voting, Noel, for the election this year?
There will be, as long as, now that I've talked to Madam Clerk about this over the last 3 years since the COVID, you can request one for any reason. Before it was you had to get an absentee voter based on if you were going to be out of the state or you're going to be on vacation or there's a medical situation. Now there's no excuse. You can actually request a ballot and the ballot will be mailed out to you. You can do, there's a lot of different ways of requesting it. I believe you can do it online. You know, you can call the city clerk's office and they'll mail one out to you, but there's not going to be like a few years ago where they'll mail the entire city asking you if you want the ballot. It's not going to be set up like that. We did that in the heavy COVID days 3 years ago, 2 years ago, but I don't know how the state's going to do theirs, but the local elections are going to be set up that way.
Okay,
so
yeah,
there's different avenues.
More proactive, basically, and
a little bit more proactive on the mailing. If you want a ballot mailed out to you, you can just request it.
Okay, very good. And I know that was all that was on the agenda, and I know you're pressed for time.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate everything, and I'm wishing the weather gets better for everybody, and we can save on that snow and ice budget, and we can get into spring and daylight savings.
Yes, we look forward to that. When's your next meeting, Noel?
We have it March 20th, which will be 2 weeks from last night.
Okay, so we'll touch base on the 21st, the first day of spring.
Sure will. There we go, Joe.
Thanks a lot, Noel.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, Joe.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.